For those of you who are with us, thank you. We got cut off, so I deeply apologize. And that's the internet world. But now let's go back because we were in the middle of conversation about wounding. You have someone that's close to you that has wounded you. And there is damage in a relationship now. Not a unforeseeable thing at times, but it happens. And I want you guys to realize that sometimes that makes it hard to trust people. You know, people that you work with, people in your families. Can you think of people that's already happened with? You know, people get hurt in marriages. People get hurt in family and friendships at work. People are impacted. Okay? Cause and impact. I'm writing on the board so you all will know. Thank you for joining me here on part 2. And so we think about shutting down, perhaps. Okay? We lose trust, shut down. Because after all, you all are probably have said to yourself or are saying, who wants to talk about that? It's important that we talk about our wounds because no one knows our wounds humanly better than what we can say. And once you say, ouch, that really hurt, you're going to feel freedom to be able to impact yourself. I don't want you to go away feeling like you are hopeless or helpless. I want you instead to be able to think about your emotions and what it has caused. We're back to the causes because that's important. We think about grief, sadness, depression, anger. Look at all the emotions that come from being wounded. Anxiety, yeah. So far we've got grief, sadness, depression, anger, and anxiety. And sometimes, you know what we do? When we're going through this wounded stage of being hurt, either we're going to bottle it up, and how do we do this? We put on a face to say everything is fine. How many times have you all done that? And I testify that I've done it too, when everything was not fine. How do we decipher that? How do we challenge it? Because you know those wounds, they're going to be still there even if you put the face of bravery on, because you haven't challenged yourself to deal with it. If you don't talk about it, okay, your lack of expression about your wounds are like this. You ever find yourself bursting into tears? How many of you have done that because of your wounds? Burst into tears. Now I'm going to put tears on that board. Burst into tears. You burst out. Become overwhelmed. Become overwhelmed. And you feel uncontrollable emotion. Right? We've all been there, but we all experience it differently. Same emotion, but we all are at different levels of our emotions. Our group therapy helps you with your emotional transformation. That's the healing part of us. Formation. Can everybody see that okay? So that emotional transformation looks ugly, feels ugly, because again, no one wants to talk about it. It makes us feel very uncomfortable to have to talk about it. But we must identify. We must identify where does it hurt in order to have that emotional transformation. We must find the root cause. Remember we talked about causes? Root cause. Why does it hurt? Where does it hurt? Why does it hurt? Okay? The first one was what hurts? What hurts? What hurts us? And I want you to think about what, why, where, and when. That's where you're going to find your root causes. You know, because if I go to the doctor and I say I've got this, it hurts here, and I'm ready to take care of it, and then guess what? I find out, wow! When the doctor asked me, how long you been like that? How long you been hurting? And I say, oh, it's been hurting for 2 weeks, 6 weeks, a whole year. That's one day too soon. Come a little closer. What I mean by that is pay attention every time you hear me say that. If you've been dealing with something longer than it has to be, it's one day too long. I want you to think about your emotional wounds. Your past and present wounds. Past and present past wounds are going to be triggered if you fail to take care of it. Or if you don't challenge yourself. Because you know what? Nothing is a failure if you're going to learn to improve yourself. But I want you to know how. You're going to be triggered. Because your emotions get buried. There is a book, and I was helped from a friend by this book long before I became an educator, long before being in the presence, right? No. When I was much younger and going through all of the things that we're going to talk about. The book, Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. You can get that book and listen to it on audio on YouTube. The book, I'm writing it in our virtual video. And I want you all to listen to that book. It will definitely give you some thinking thoughts. It's called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. We will add exactly where you can find it. That was one of the things that we did in our podcast as a group. We went over that book. Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. I want you to think about that even as a quote. I'm writing it on the board, as you see. I gotta really work on my writing, guys. Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. And that book brings you literally to the core of connecting with yourself. I will give you the author's name. So, how do they impact us? They impact our behaviors. I'm going to write it here. I know it's a lot here. Impact. Impact is how does it affect us? Our behavior. Okay, they affect our behavior. Sabotaging important things in our life. They affect our relationship. Okay, talking about the wounds. relationships, our work, our self-esteem, causing trauma, oh my goodness. Let's think about that when you're at work, your emotional wounds, you're hurting, and these are real legit hurting. It gets triggered at work. And that's another thing about the book, Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. It talks about understanding your triggers and understanding how your brain activates. Maybe you have procrastination, doubt, you're slowed up, and now you're going to be involved with getting into a situation with your boss because it has changed you. It has affected your working habits. It has caused you to do less in your work skill. And sometimes that can mean a loss of job, or maybe you were going to get a promotion. Many of us feel afraid to speak because we don't feel good enough, right? We've got to challenge ourselves to feel good enough to do something, right? So when we think about emotional wounds, our owies, and where it hurts, we're now talking about when it can hurt. A lot of people that have come to me are in this very group. Self-esteem has been the number one. Not feeling good enough. Why? Because you told yourself or someone told you that you didn't amount to anything, that you're unworthy, that you don't matter, that you're less than. So you struggle with that wound daily. And that's why it's so important to think about how we must reach out. This is a reach out program for you, your loved ones, your neighbors. Imagine, if you will, with a seating capacity that everyone in this Antelope Valley came to the Healing Center. Imagine the possibility of being able to help those who are hurting. Help those who are hurting. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about how you can heal yourself. When we think about emotional wounds, it's very important. We talk about the healing, okay? When we think about healing, making better, you have to ask yourself again, what do you want to do with this emotional pain that you've been carrying around? Because one day, if you don't talk about it, it's going to show itself. Again, we go back to maybe even in our childhood, when you cried, no one asked you what's the matter. or when you fail, no one was there to help you. No one was there to put a Band-Aid on your owies. And even when they did, they didn't properly care as your caregiver. So healing is important. Going back to the Band-Aid, I like to use this analogy of going back to the Band-Aid. When you go back to the Band-Aid, there's some measure of steps that you must take. You know, because if you put a Band-Aid on an open wound before cleaning it, right? Cleaning the area, finding the space. We all remember as children what that was like. We didn't want anybody to touch us, but we would scream and cry out, it hurts. As our parents rushed to our aid. It hurt, and all we could do was cry. And as they assessed it, back in the day, they had this thing that was called mercurochrome. It was red, and it had a little stick that was made out of glass. When you open the tiny bottle, and your parents would rub that on where it hurts, they would clean it. But the mercurochrome was for protection from infection. How does that relate to our emotional wounds and the cleaning of it? We've got to go back to the what, why, where, and how. We must start the healing process in order to make better. Because once that's done and we put the Band-Aid on, the chances of it healing nicely are very high. But if you put the Band-Aid on before taking necessary precaution, the chances of it healing are not very great. So what I'm going to ask you to do today is think about how you want to care. You know, every time you go to the doctor, when they discharge you, they always give you self-care instruction. Oh, how many times we've had that. So that self-care instruction for you, aftercare, is to now take care of it. That's the instruction. Take care of it. After all, it's going to be how. See, we just answered the what, take care of it. How am I going to take care of it? If you go home and you've got this paper of aftercare and you don't take care of it, is it going to get better? Okay? But how? Okay? When? Okay? Aftercare. You must do the work. Nobody can help you do your work. The series of questions that I'm doing right now helps you best because you're going to think about it. You're going to know about your lasting hurt. You're going to know that there's a wound that you've been hurt. You're going to define where it has been hurt. How has it been hurting you? In other words, how is it affecting you? Do you feel, because you've been wounded, self-worth, trust, shut down, a lack of? How has it affected you? Are you sad, depressed, angry? Do you feel anxiety? Your response is your own personal response. See, not everybody that comes to the healing center is going to respond to the aftercare or to the care. Because sometimes we say, wow, that sounds really good. And we jump on and we come in here and we say, all of that was so good, but it's going to be what we do. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I want you to understand that it can be fixed. We all have had a scar, and we all are able to talk about our scars if we want to. See, what we tell our mind is, it's too ugly. That scar is too ugly. I have an ugly scar, a physical scar. When I was a little girl, I got bit by my family dog. And she wasn't a vicious dog. I was afraid of her and I was trying to run. My brother was trying to take out the trash and I was going to go with him. And the dog came charging at me just to play. It was a Saint Bernard, people. Just so that you know, it wasn't what everybody classes the number one dog. It was a Saint Bernard, people. And I have an ugly scar. My mother told me about that scar when I was a little girl. Because, you know, I like to run and jump too. And one day as she was helping me get dressed, I remember the conversation that she had with me. And the conversation was, you're not going to like those scars. Look at all those scars. And she was only trying to help me to see that, wow. You know, because moms are different. We notice scars where dads don't really notice it. You know, they say, it's okay, you'll be all right. Moms run, hug, kiss you, you know, and they notice every little thing because I do. I notice everything. But you know those scars that she told me about? They're still there. And every time I look at them, I think about the conversation that we had, and I have very slight memory of it, what the conversation was, but I heard the word ugly scars. And the ugly scars are the scars that we feel may not go away, will never go away, will always impact our life. Can I tell you something? It doesn't hurt anymore. We all can get there. It doesn't hurt anymore. It doesn't affect me anymore. I can now tell you the story about it, and I don't even remember how much it hurt. I remember at the time it did hurt. There have been other hurts where I have tried my darndest to jump a fence, wanting to run around with my boy cousin, climb a tree, ride a bike. Those are scars. I can talk about them because they no longer hurt. You see, that's the experience that we gather for. We experience this part of life. It is. In all of those wounds, they have since healed. They're only would love to hear feedback from you, all whether you're on video, whether you're in the seats, on what kind of scars you've had. See, because the workshop of this today would be to discuss the scars and everybody get involved in the conversation of, remember that time when I fell off the skates, or one time I fell off my bike, or one time I fell on a fence, or one time, it doesn't have to be tragic. It could just be a life learning lesson. But from all of the wounds that we've ever had, we got back up. We stood up. Because why? Someone took care of it. And even when they didn't, it eventually healed. You see, the body is so amazing that the body has the incredible ability, because Jehovah God made our bodies to heal themselves. We renew ourselves each and every day. So is it impossible to heal your wounds? How would you answer? That's the how. See, because what I just told you is they do heal. Past and the present. One fact that we do know is that we have the ability. We have the capability to wound heal. You know that aftercare that I told you that we get when we go to the hospital, when we have a wound or we've been wounded or we have hurts or injuries, the aftercare is going to be the main facet as to how you're going to heal. How will you heal? Today we've talked about that, and I want you to understand the impact that you can help yourself to stay connected to your wounds by first defining them, first how it's affected you, what type of pain are you having. See, the lack of expression of it builds up. It builds up until it has nowhere to store itself. Healing is important. That's why we're called the Vibe Talk Healing Center. Vibe Talk Facing the Line Healing Center. Healing. I want you to take the steps. Be patient with yourself. Because all healing is different for you and me. We know that we want to. And that's why you're here listening. But some of us may not require ourselves. Give yourself first permission to heal. Give yourself, allow yourself permission to heal. Allow that. When you do that, that's grace. Allow yourself the space. Right now, I'm healing. Because you know what? I've been triggered by pain so long that because I teach people about healing and the experience that I have, guess what? It's time for me. And it's been time. Because I couldn't be a certified life and wellness to have glimmers of hope that, yes, I can do this. How do we do it? Do we just jump up and say, I'm healed? See, we may have seen some things like that, but is that really the wisest thing to think that you have instantaneous healing? So I say to you today, start healing. Start healing. And one thing, if you've been working with me, I don't just tell you that and just leave you hanging. The very small thing is noticeable. How many of you have ever had a pet? Just talked about our family dog. Have you ever watched a turtle? It's slow, right? You know, sometimes I like to watch the turtle eat because I'm wondering if he's so slow about eating. I've learned it, but I'm not going to tell you the answer. If you have a turtle, just watch it. If you watch it, you know what you know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. But here's an interesting about a turtle. They move slowly, but they eventually get to where they want to be. If it wants to eat, it's going to eat. Watching their movement, even the smallest things, such as a turtle, makes progress, and you can be like that. When we are making changes, be it small and manageable, we're going to create for ourselves glimmers of hope. My podcast today talked about that, the change in me. Because I can tell you what, life can rear its ugly head and people make demands on you. They say, you're moving too slow. I haven't seen any changes. And that's how we talk to ourselves. Did you know that? That is how we talk to ourselves. We expect that because we're coming to a healing program that it's going to be instantaneously. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to be. But the small changes is the first step to healing. You know, people come into a program like this and then they decide to get impatient with themselves. You know that pain that you're feeling? It didn't get there overnight. It didn't get there yesterday or today. It compiled itself for a time, a season, an event that happened that impacted you and caused that hurt. So what I'm trying to tell you is that all that compiling of pain and wounds is going to take some time. But I'll tell you what, have you ever had a wound and you did everything you were supposed to do to the best of your ability and you started to feel better? Why? It's because you had aftercare. Notice that I said the aftercare relating to going to the doctor. If you don't aftercare after you come to the healing center and you say, yeah, I went to the healing center and I liked it or I didn't like it or yeah, it was really great, loved it, loved the video, and you do nothing, you can expect slow or, no progress. But you've got to do the aftercare. You've got to be the one that believes in yourself. You don't have to heal all in one day, because that's not being realistic. You have to take the time out to to do it on the daily. How many things do we actually do on the daily? Some of us on the daily get up. Most of us get up. We get our morning coffee going. We go to the gym. We talk to our best friends or family members. But self-care on a daily. Don't just come to the healing center and expect miracles. Because the healing center is not made up of a miracle. Your progression is going to be up to you. I need you to be patient with yourself. And if you feel like it's ugly, here's what I want you to do, because you've got to unravel. You've got to start to take the layers. We're going to be getting into layers and looking at layers. We have to allow the time to gain knowledge. We have to be skillful. And the Vibe Talk Healing Center is about your being insightful skills. We do it through creative workshops. We put you in groups to do certain things. Even when it looks like there's no silver lining, keep going. Keep yourself going, because we challenge ourselves. We talked about realistic goals. I want you to think about that, realistic goals. Setbacks. You call them triggers. But not everyone responds the same. So if you're having a setback, be patient. Learn from them. I've had setbacks. They don't feel good, but you learn from them. And other people, and I want the other people to really listen to what the message is here today, is give your loved ones grace. Even if you want to get in their space, give them time to assess every new thing that they will learn. Oh, there's going to be setbacks. But I bet you can count the days that you don't feel hurt more than you did before we started. Make your self-care that you care about yourself. Let's go back to when you were a child. I can't think about a time when I injured myself and nobody was there to pick me up or say it's going to be okay, or, I would always run to my mom crying. I was a brat because I wanted to play the games that the boys, my cousins, my one cousin in particular, he and I would have summers together, and I would, if he wanted to climb a tree, I was going to try to climb that tree. If we had to hop the fence, that's what I was going to do. We walked everywhere. But I'll tell you what, the learning experience, I got scraped up, fell down, bruised, but there was always somebody that asked me, are you okay? Today, if nobody has asked you if you are okay, I'm going to be the first person to ask you, are you okay? When you think about yourself, when you get to the healing stage, it's like a butter or a caterpillar coming out of its cocoon. And as they come out of their cocoon, how do we know what it feels like? We don't. But our lives are like that sometimes. We say, ouch, it hurts. But even in the hurting stages, we are conscientiously aware that we must have compassion. The thing I was going to say is, when I was little, when I used to hurt myself, I would run to my mom crying, and she would fix it. Good old Mercurochrome. All the 70s people know about that, and the 60s. I'm a 70s child. That tells you my age. And rubbing alcohol would fix it. But it's the Band-Aid that helps. It's that Band-Aid that I knew that I was going to get after she cleaned all the wound, cleaned all the blood. If she covered it with the Band-Aid, it was going to heal. And so it did. Some of us are still wearing the age-old Band-Aids. I'm going to tell you how so. And then we're going to continue the healing part, because we're going to close in a few minutes. The age-old Band-Aid. You ever had a Band-Aid that's stuck on you? Everybody's singing the jingle. You know? I'm stuck on Band-Aids because Band-Aids stuck on me. Some of us have been wearing our Band-Aids. And the moment somebody wants to touch it or even rip it off, we say, ouch! And we have little pinches of life. And so we are okay with the Band-Aid being covered over the wound. But that wound cannot breathe. Because what the doctor will tell you is to clean the wound. If you need to wrap it, afterwards you've cleaned it. Your cleaning means that you're responding, you're talking about it, you're learning skill, you're finding awareness, you're identifying the hurts. Stop putting the Band-Aid on the age-old wound. Treat yourself with compassion. Learn that you are valuable. I needed space. I need space to get through some healing parts of myself. And people won't respect you when you give them an understanding of yourself if it's called upon. May they respect you. Because everybody doesn't experience emotional wounds the way that you do. Sometimes we don't even know what the emotional wounds are, but we need to heal them. That is our message today. Take the Band-Aid off. Give it aftercare, self-care, compassion. Take care of it. Because like the book says, feelings buried alive never die. It's true. You have the age-old wound that has affected your life and caused impact. May you well yourself by coming to the Healing Center. It's an outreach program. If you know of somebody, even if you live in other parts of the city, come. We don't put a price tag on the Healing Center. Here's what we are doing though. we're asking that you decide what you want to donate. Doesn't have to be monetary. You know, we needed chairs. People donated chairs. Doesn't have to be money. But each and every time that you come, I want you to think about it. And I want you to be inviting other people. My goal is for the Healing Center to grow in other places. I will remember January the 6th, 2025. That was the beginning of the Healing Center. I want to thank you guys in advance for coming. There was someone that got cut off. I apologize for this, but this is part 2, and we did come back online. It's a slow progress, but we want to help you with your wounds. We want to be your resource. We're not a medical center. We're simply a healing center, a place that you can come and feel free to be able to express yourself. We have emergency walk-ins, if at all possible, same-day appointments, depending on what my schedule looks like. I have one-on-one appointments. I have family appointment. I have intervention programs where we get in and we really try to help families, or we really try to help someone that's dealing with something. And we're located in Palmdale. I want to thank you guys so much for your support. And this is group number 6, and it's on wounds. And that's what we're talking about. We've talked about pain. Pain and wounds are 2 different things. So if you say, Miss Nisi, you've talked about this before, yes, but we're dealing with wounds now. I want to thank every one of you for your support of Vibe Talk, Facing the Lion Healing Center, known in short as the Healing Center. Our number to outreach to us is 1-888-721-9260. Thank you guys. And we're going to see you right back here next Friday, where every Friday we want you to come down. What we want to do is have like a break in between, and when we end at 12 o'clock, have like a little lunch so that you guys are comfortable. Trust me, you'll be glad you did. Join me next week as I'm here live. I'm in the Healing Center with group session, and I can be on your videos. Check out our YouTube page. Thank you so much, and have a good day. Happy Friday, and please everyone be safe.